Kicking things off this week with a big Major Spoilers thank you to some very awesome people who made this episode possible. First up, welcome our new silver level patrons, Eric Hansen and Eric Von Oy. Thank you both so much for jumping on board and helping us to keep the show going week after week. We've also got two new gold level patrons who went all in and paid for a full year in advance. Now that is commitment. Huge thanks to Rose RPGs and Loki Worm. Your support at the gold level for a full year really helps us plan ahead and keeps building cool stuff for all of our patrons. Remember, this show exists because of listeners like you. If you want to get your own shout out and unlock even more content, you can join these fine folks and a whole lot of other cool people over at patreon.com/Major Spoilers. Thank you, patrons.
The Major Spoilers podcast covers news, reviews, and of course, spoilers, and goes into details about the topics discussed. So if you haven't read, listened, or watched the items we talk about, you might want to come back later.
I'm Matthew.
I'm Rodrigo.
And I'm Steven, and you're listening to the Major Spoilers podcast, the podcast for pop culture and comic fans.
In this issue, Mo Robo, Mo Problems. A series of minor threats, alien rodents of unusual size. Wesley doesn't believe in those. Plus, we face the final boss. Won't you come and join the party dressed to kill? Unless you're Superman, because Superman doesn't kill. The sun shines, people forget, but the Major Spoilers podcast never does, and it's on the air.
Welcome to issue 1149 of the Major Spoilers podcast. Thank you, everybody, for downloading and checking us out this week. If you are a patron, I sent out a poll this week for you to respond to, and so many of you have already responded and adding comments. The question was, why are you a patron? Is it just because you want to support us? Because we've been doing this show since, Rodrigo, 2008? So 18 years of the Major Spoilers podcast? Is it because you just want to... It just seems that way, right? I mean, there are people have been born, people have died, people have graduated college and had their own grandchildren in the time that we have been doing all 1,149 episodes of the Major Spoilers podcast.
You haven't had your old grandchildren, I think.
And we have stayed exactly the same.
We have not changed one bit. I take that back. We have actually grown and changed and become much better people than we were 20 years ago. And if you are a patron, I would appreciate if you just answer it real quick. If you want to provide commentary, you can do that too, which a lot of people did. I thank you for that. And you can find out more over at patreon.com/Major Spoilers. Also, if you are wanting to find out why I hate the long goodbye, this week's Major Spoilers podcast pre-show is all about that, where I finally formulated why I do not like the long goodbye, and it may have to do with electronic organs. What does that mean?
I do not like a long goodbye.
I do not like a long goodbye. Anyway, Discord, we've got one of those. It's free. Join it. We're going to love to see you there. A lot of comments going on, especially in our new Critical Hit. Well, not our new Critical Hit channel, but in our Critical Hit channel about our new campaign. So you're going to want to go over there and check that out as well. And now I think we should probably get to some reviews. Matthew, what's going on in the world of the minor threats? I thought Archie and the gang were over there in the minor threats area. What is that? What's going on here?
No. Archie and the gang in the minor threats area is crazy, go nuts, crazy fun. This is more of the core story, what I think of as the spine of the minor threats universe, because there are a lot of spinoffs of this book. Minor Threats, The Last Devil Left Alive, issue number 2, written by Patton Oswalt and Jordan Blum, art by Scott Hepburn, is out, and it's the quiet that'll kill you. So if you go back to the very beginning of Minor Threats, the initial story was about 6 minor supervillains who were drawn together, partly because they were losers in the wrong place at the wrong time. This is the second issue of a story dealing with that, taking place years later. And one of the consequences of that initial mission was that the Superman figure of their world, a woman called the Searcher, has been depowered and is now on basically house arrest by the United States government if she uses her powers, or if her pulse raises at any point, then the cops show up. And of course, the minor threats are here to recruit her. It's a bad, bad idea. If you know minor threats, there are 3 things that bring me to the table. 1, this is a really, really darkly funny book. 2, the character archetypes are freaking hysterical. And 3, it does Stan Lee's time passing and the illusion of change, but it actually gets away with change. This issue gives us 3 big moments. I don't want to spoiler any of them if you've been reading Minor Threats from the beginning, but I will tell you this. The art is phenomenal. It does feature a man with a fly's head who speaks entirely in emojis. And of course, Brain Trust is back. And if you know Brain Trust, just imagine the Riddler, except he's an idiot with a huge ego. At the end of this issue, I was absolutely stunned at the deep cut they pulled. 4 slices of meatloaf for the issue. And I always want to call it The Last Demon Left Standing. It is Minor Threats, The Last Demon Left Alive, #2 from Dark Horse Comics. 4 slices of meatloaf. This is a good one. You should check it out.
All right, very cool. The Last Devil Left Alive.
Last Devil Left. See, I don't know. I'm from France.
All right, very cool. So, new comic out this week from Image Comics. It's called Final Boss, written and illustrated by Tyler Kirkman. In this story, we have Tommy Brazen, who is long ago, as a 10-year-old, was given a totem by his grandfather, who found it in an amazing adventure that he had on an island in World War II. But we don't really know much about that, even though we get some flashbacks. But in the in-between times, between then and the present, Tommy's father has gone missing. And so Tommy is using his fighting skills as a mixed martial artist, ? Definitely an MMA fighting, that's mixed martial arts, but definitely, you know, what is it when you're in the ring just to kill people kind of thing, which I guess
Blood
is also
sport.
MMA. Yeah, blood sport. That's basically what it is. And so he's trying to get up enough money, either as the in the ring fighting or as an enforcer, so he can go look for his missing father. And somehow this totem may be giving him mysterious powers to steal power from his enemies as he fights them. All well and good. And I saw the solicits for this, and I was like, hey, this is going to be a really cool kind of action, 90s action, video game kind of thing, like a Street Fighter or karate or something like that. And I was all in for it, except this comic is very much an action comics from the 90s, a hardcore comic from the 90s, in that there's lots of blood and dismemberment. And in fact, in one of the fights, it's a double-page spread. Spoiler alert, Tommy takes some nunchucks and splits a guy right down the middle, and his body is in 2 parts, and the crowd goes wild. And that's the part where I kind of check out on, because that kind of extreme gore and blood and guts is not for me. I realize it's for some people, and if that is something that attracts you, extreme violence where arms are getting ripped off in a very bloody, realistic way, then you might want to check out Final Boss. I really thought the premise was good. I thought the story in this book could have used some more editing, in that they basically tell the origin story 2 different times in the book. And I think a cleanup pass and not having the character narrate his own past there would be a better way to do that than, oh yeah, I remember 10 years ago when my grandfather gave me this totem and now I'm an enforcer and I have to crack heads. I don't think we have that internal dialogue with ourselves every day. So I think some editing on the writing would be a better way to go on this. The art is fine, but it is bloody and disgusting. And so overall, this comic is not for me, but it might be for you. It's Final Boss #1 from Tyler Kirkman. I'm giving it 1.5 slices of meatloaf out of 5. There you go. Rodrigo, what do you got going on coming up next week from Oni Press?
I got Biker Mice from Mars #6. I recently reviewed Biker Mice from Mars #5. And this one picks right up from there. Our titular characters are flying into space, chasing down the Plutarchians, but they don't have any bikes, which is weird for them to not have, but they kind of had to leave in a hurry. So in this issue, they are found by the Stalkers, who I believe did appear in the cartoon. So this is kind of like their comic book version of the Stalkers showing up and fighting them. And then the Biker Mice are like, ha, hoo, ha, and then they fight them, right? Or really, they're overwhelmed. They end up in the spaceship of the Stalkers, and they kind of try to figure out a way out. So the art is very good. Still weird because Vinny and Moto haven't been sufficiently injured yet. So they don't have, and I pointed this out in the last one, they don't have their eye patch and Kano from Mortal Kombat face. And not respectively, because I think I flipped them, but you know what I'm saying. But somebody gets hurt really badly in this one. I'm not going to tell you who, but we could be looking at something like that coming up soon. The only issue that I had with this is that it's a single issue in which they introduce and deal with the stalkers in one go. And so either it feels rushed or it feels kind of like the main characters were never really in danger, right?
Mm-hmm.
They just overcome the problem, in a fun way. You should, if you want to read it, you should still read it. It's interesting to see what they do. But because it happens so fast, it's like, oh, well, like these stalker guys never had a chance against the protagonist, right? It's fun to introduce new characters. The Biker Mice from Mars is full of stuff like that, and also because this is part of the Nacelle universe, I believe.
Yep.
There's also room to introduce characters from outside the Biker Mice from Mars universe to them, but I guess you got to be careful. Maybe the stalkers are meant to be kind of a B tier, B list enemy for the Biker Mice this time around. So maybe that's okay. I'm gonna give it 3 slices of meatloaf. It's good. Art is solid, above average, definitely. But it left me kind of like, I kind of wanted to see what these stalker guys were about.
Very cool. All right. Thank you, Rodrigo. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, dear listeners, for being a part of everything that we've been doing. As I mentioned, right now, hundreds of awesome spoilerites are getting extra shows, behind-the-scenes gossip, and early episode drops, and you could be one of them. $5 a month. Patreon.com/major spoilers is where you want to go. Don't wait until next week's episode to join. Sign up today. Start enjoying all the bonus content. All of it. All the 5-10 years that we've got of bonus content. It's all up there waiting for you right now. We are in the post-Halloween period, time between Halloween and Thanksgiving, where your candy supplies may be running a bit low. You may have picked through all of the really good stuff, and now the only thing you have left are a couple of candy bars and some Swedish fish. And when it comes to those candy bars, you have one of two choices. You have a Three Musketeers, or you have a Milky Way. Which one do you prefer, Matthew?
Three Musketeers. There is something about the amalgamation of nougat and caramel and chocolate in a Milky Way without the peanuts that turn it into a Snickers.
Right.
Is just overwhelming for me. My family is a huge fan of dulce de leche and like caramely things. And the child will be like, I got caramel, and a side of caramel. And then my wife will be like, oh, well, I put salt in my caramel with caramel and caramel. And then, the Vikings start chanting spam, and spam. But like too much cloying sweetness. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to turn down a Milky Way. I'm not a barbarian, but I prefer, there's something about a Three Musketeers. And I think it's just the fact that it's just all like nougat and chocolate in there. And another thing that's important is if you're a real fat bastard like me, the Three Musketeers is actually slightly more appropriate in terms of caloric intake. So they don't want you eating any chocolate, but if you had to choose between these two, the Three Musketeers, being that it has so much air in both.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a lot more whipped. It's a lot more whipped in its stuff. Sure. So it feels right. Because I had the little bite size. There were 2 bite size in the bowl today. And I was like, well, let me try these. And it was definitely the Three Musketeers feels lighter and fluffier, but I like the solidness that you get from a Milky Way, right? Yes, the caramel has that extra zing that you get with it, and it makes it a little bit more firm. But I think I prefer the firmness of the Milky Way over the fluffiness of the Three Musketeers. Rodrigo, where do you weigh in on this?
It's interesting. I don't eat a lot of chocolate-based bars because I suffer from migraines, and chocolate is a trigger. So I generally avoid it in that I don't buy it. But if there's something around, I can't help myself and still eat it, right? So yeah. Especially if it's offered to me. If I don't take it, I lose my powers.
Yeah.
So I prefer the Milky Way for like kind of very I don't know, like practical reasons. I do generally have a problem stopping myself from eating candy and chips and whatever else. I'm very bad about that. So because a Milky Way is going to be denser, and because it has peanuts, which balances out that sugar a little bit, both in the taste and also in my blood sugar. I feel like there's probably not enough peanuts in the Milky Way to balance out that much sugar, but it's something. It's a little bit of protein.
Yeah.
So again, because of that density, I'm probably going to go with the Milky Way just because I'll be a little bit more full and I'm a little bit less likely to then turn around and be like, no, give me the Three Musketeers bar too.
Yeah. Is there a candy bar that you would turn away? Like if someone said, here's a whatchamacallit, and you're like, oh, gross, get that away from me. Is there something like that in the candy bar, the chocolate candy bar category for you guys?
Yes, with an asterisk.
Is it a Reggie bar? Please tell me it's a Reggie.
It is. It's not a Reggie bar. I haven't had a Reggie bar in 30. Nobody's had a Reggie bar in 30 years. You're not only dating yourself, you're dating me by my admitting that I know what you're talking about. But there is up to a point. If you go to the store and you buy one of the little Hershey's configurational flaggedy things where it has the 4 bars in it, you got your regular chocolate, you got your crackle, you got your Mr. Good bar, and you got your dark chocolate.
Yeah.
The Hershey's dark chocolate bars in that little thumb size are just a little more
You don't like
bitter.
Dark chocolate?
I don't hate dark chocolate, and I will eat dark chocolate all day long if dark chocolate is my only option. Because again, as early mentioned, I'm a fat bastard, but I will avoid the dark chocolate until the very end.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Rodrigo, what about you? Is there one that you hate that you would turn away?
So I don't.
Here's a Clark bar.
Ooh, nobody
pretty
knows
much anything. I don't have anything against most of the stuff that ends up in candy bars, right? I like coconut just fine. I like almonds just fine. Like a lot of people really hate it when like actual organic components make it into their into their candy bars. The one that I probably like the least, and one that under certain circumstances I probably would turn down, is Butterfinger.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't had it in a long time, but I feel like anytime I've had one, it's like salty. It's like actively salty.
Yeah, a little bit.
And it's not that sort of like mild saltiness that like balances out the chocolate or something. It's like the chocolate is sweet, and then the inside is like salty, crunchy peanut polymerized whatever, and it's not a pleasant eating experience for me. But as Matthew said, and that applies to me too, if all there is a Butterfinger, I'll probably eat it, unless if I'm not, a lot of time, and again, I'm sorry for migraines, a lot of time I don't feel well because I've had a migraine or I'm about to have a migraine. At that point I become a lot more sensitive to food taste. So there's probably lots of times when if I'm feeling bad, like if I think I'm about to get a migraine and I find some chocolate, I'm like, well, I'm about to have a migraine anyway. I'm just going to eat this.
Might as well.
Yeah. What about
But at that point, if I found a Butterfinger at that point, I'd be like, absolutely not. I will throw up.
Okay. What about a marathon bar? Is that high on your list?
Which ones are those?
That's the one that's kind of like looks like a rope of caramel, braided caramel, and then it's covered in chocolate.
I have never had that.
It's because you were not born in the 70s.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had them.
Those are discontinued.
I used to love a marathon. Now, and it may be this is the thing. If you grow up as the only boy in a room full of girls, as I did, sometimes you develop a liking for things just because no one else will eat them. So, like, I, for instance, love a zero bar. You ever have a zero bar, white
It was
chocolate
a long
and
time ago.
almonds?
Yeah, it was a long time
Yeah.
ago. It's like the reverse Snickers.
Yep. Back in the day, when Mars was a separate agency, Mars did a Mars bar. These days, they do something similar, and they call it the almond Snickers.
Yeah, almond
but
Snickers, yeah.
the official Mars bar had a different sort of a chocolate ness to it. I loved me a classic Mars bar back in the day, but it's also one of those things that, like everything that comes up, it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, there was a chocolate bar I was trying to think of the other day, because I always think that the Reggie bar has it, and then that's not it. And then I think it's a Chunky, and the Chunky isn't this. But I seem to remember that there was a candy bar that had like a layer of like fruit or prunes, not a cherry mash or anything like that, but literally it was a chocolate bar that had like a layer of like a prune filling. Do you remember anything like that?
I know. Well,
It's a
I know why you think
chocolate-covered
Chunky.
Big Newton.
Almost like
Because
that.
Chunky had what do you call them? Raisins.
Oh, maybe that's what I'm thinking of, is raisins. Okay, that's what I'm thinking of. Chunky bar with raisins.
Chunky does have raisins, and I love a Chunky. Don't get me wrong. I will eat a Chunky all day long. That will be the top of my list because it has the raisins, it has crushed peanuts, and the depth of that chocolate. There's like a bite to it. You have to gnaw your way to the life-giving sucrose when it comes to your Chunky bar. I mean, you got to fight.
All right, cool.
If your jaw doesn't hurt, you haven't had a Chunky bar, my friend.
Dear listener,
a lot of people don't. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, dear listener, what do you think about all this? You can weigh in by heading to our Discord server. There's a link in the show notes. Join for free. Share your thoughts on your favorite and least favorite candy bar in the Major Spoilers podcast channel. All right, we are into the final, and when I say final, the one that is the most recent released Atomic Robo series. Well, they announced that they wrapped up Atomic Robo and the Peril of Prometheus a month or so ago, and then they're taking the rest of 2025 off. So they're not even starting something new until 2026. So my guess is this time next year, we still won't be done with the next adventure.
Sure.
So we probably won't have an Atomic Robo for a couple of years because these guys are lazy. No, I take that back.
No,
they have been cranking away with Atomic Robo for as long as MajorSpoilers.com has been around. So 20 years of this. And you can read all of the adventures for free at atomic-robo.com. And as I said, the most recent finished story is Atomic Robo and the Peril of Prometheus, which is both a commentary on rich billionaires, AI, and of course, weather control, because we get the return of Heisengard, but this time he's a snotty brat.
Right. Helsingard, I think is it Helsingard or
Helsingard. Sorry, I want to say Heisengard.
Helsingard, I think, is like the very
bits of Breaking Bad again.
Oh, sure. He's like either the first or one of the first Atomic Robo villains we find, and keeps popping up either by preserving his life or cloning himself or whatever. So yeah, this is like the latest, most advanced clone of Helsingard.
And
I think is a good idea.
Yeah, I think so too. I like it too, especially when he sets off this weather modification thing and then threatens the world by saying, "You must all unite under me." And then we smash cut to headquarters where the girl, I forget what her name is, she's sitting there going, "Please don't be Dr. Dinosaur. Please don't be Dr. Dinosaur.
Yeah.
Please don't be Dr. Dinosaur. It's me, Helsingard." And she's like, "Oh, thank you." So I do enjoy that. And it gives Alan, technically Atomic Robo's quote unquote son, a chance to shine in his adventure. And so I guess as we look at Alan going off on his big outing, what do we think of how Alan did in this part of the adventure?
I think that it definitely allows us a chance to see that generational difference, which I think is one of the most brilliant parts of this book, because our main character is an atomic powered robot created by Tesla in like 19. And Alan is more of a conventional future AI kind of robot-y thing. And I feel like I like that, but I also I like Robo better than I like Alan.
Really, because I kind of get, if you go back and look at the adventures that he had when he was brand new, the 1920s adventures that he had, I think that was volume 3.
When
where
Robo was brand new.
Yeah, when Robo was brand new. And he was going on that underground adventure with the girl and was kind of like, oh, does he have a love interest? The attitude that Robo had back then feels to me a lot like the attitude that Alan has now. He doesn't have the, oh, fiddlesticks kind of language stuff. He doesn't have that module installed yet. But I feel like the attitude and the willingness to just go headfirst into danger without really coming up with a plan is very much Atomic Robo from back in the day, before he was wizened and pulling one over on Virgin Galactic and Bill Gates and all the others.
There's definitely a a sarcasm to modern
yes.
Robo that he didn't have back then, and that Alan definitely doesn't have. He's very earnest. By the way, the lady that's with Alan in this adventure is Foley.
Foley. Okay, I wanted to say Julie, but that didn't sound right. So, yeah.
I don't know her first name. I don't think they say their first name in this, and I don't remember it. But
yeah, she's been around for a couple of adventures now. So
I think it's Axel.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, a good example of this is, they take the jet car up to the top of the building to fight Helsingard and his zombie drones, and they're like, "Oh, maybe we should have turned on the elevator so everybody else could get up here." These 1980s hackers guys could have gotten in here, and then Alan's like, "Oh yeah, let me go rectify that." Meanwhile, the hackers are running all the way up the stairs, and they finally get up to the top, and the elevator arrives at the same time, and they're like, that kind of stuff. I find somewhat hysterical.
Yeah.
And Alan's not thinking. And I think that's part of that character development that hopefully we will see Alan go through over the next couple of volumes. Yeah. Did you guys like the surprise appearance of the hackers? I don't think we've ever seen these guys before, have we?
Have we seen them?
I don't think we have.
I don't remember them very well. I love that they're just called the cyberpunks.
Yeah.
Just very clearly, the idea here is that Robo helped to sort of recruit them back in the 80s, and that was like a fresh thing to call yourself. I don't remember them, but there's lots of things. It's like I read Atomic Robo when we read it for the show, which means I'm reading at most a volume a year. And so there's a lot of stuff that I don't remember. Obviously we were catching up. I was flipping through things to get to this volume. And every once in a while there'll be a character. And I was like, I have a sense memory of this character. This large beeping robot. But I kind of don't remember what their deal was. I need to go back and read it. And I don't remember the cyberpunk. So either they're there and I just forgot about them, or we haven't jumped back in time to the 80s.
And that's what I'm thinking.
Was.
That's what I'm thinking, right? Is that the next volume might be Atomic Robo in the 80s when he hooks up with the cyberpunks. And that would make sense, right? You kind of introduce these guys and then you flash back and you flesh out their story. And then you build it up like, what's his name who got killed by the vampires?
Higgins? No, it wasn't. It wasn't
like Higgins or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just his last name. Everybody goes by their last names. So if you don't remember their last names, it's definitely initial.
Yeah.
Jenkins.
That's
pretty sure it was Jenkins. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I want to say Foley's first name is Liz, but I may be crazy. So.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I found myself every time the hackers were like, I'm like, so which one is supposed to be Shaggy and which one is Angelina Jolie?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because that was just the whole jam that I got there, and it felt like I really like it when we have references to stories that maybe we've never seen, because it reminds me of the way that I started reading comics. Everything had 30 years of continuity behind it. Granted,
so if you look at the Atomic Robo timeline and you look at the 1980s, you have two entries. 1989, summer, Atomic Robo battles a giant sea monster off the coast of Clearwater, Florida, Real Science Adventures, Volume 1. 1985, Top Secret, in parentheses, the Mirror Shade Overdrive. And there are multiples of those throughout the different timelines. So in the 90s, there's a 1993 event called Top Secret, in parentheses, the Soldiers of Fortune. So I have a feeling that if somebody is really following the clues and the Easter eggs, you know what some of the upcoming storylines might be. So just to maybe spoil things for everybody, it's not really a spoiler if it's right there on the screen. In the 1960s, Top Secret, The Spear of Destiny. 1973, Top Secret, Diamonds Are for Never. Already did 1980, already did 1990, 2000s. There is nothing that is secret there. There's nothing secret in the 2010s or the 2020s. 1950s, there's nothing there. In the 1940s, nothing there. The 30s, nothing there. 20s, nothing there. And in the 1900s, nothing there either. So, I think we've got our next couple of volumes kind of laid out for us. The Mirror Shade Overdrive, The Soldiers of Fortune, and The Spear of Destiny. So, good times there. Anything else about the Alan storyline you guys wanted to talk about?
Oh, he's gone public.
And now and I'm going to be Alan, and I'm going to be interested to see how both the public and Atomic Robo deal with that, because Robo is very much afraid that when people find out he's using the same operating system as the OS that went crazy, that people might have a problem with that, or at least the secret government organizations might. But then also wonder if Robo, he does experience a little jealousy at times. I wonder if Alan going public makes him feel less unique.
You mean like in his feelings, or if we as an audience
in Atomic Robo's feelings? If Atomic Robo has feelings that he would be like, oh, well, now my son, in quotes, is out there and everybody likes him maybe more than they like me. And now I have questions about what does it mean to be a father and your kid surpasses you, et cetera, et cetera.
I mean, maybe. I like the probably the least exciting thing about Atomic Robo as he appears in the presents is that he's actually very well adjusted.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because he's been around for a long time, has had lots of adventures, has had lots of time to think things over.
Right.
But like throughout this whole issue, for example, or through this whole volume, he like never freaks out, right? He's just kind of like methodically trying to work things out.
Yeah.
And everybody else is freaking out around him, and he's kind of the center that continues to hold just fine.
He is
so I would be surprised.
Perot.
Yeah, I would be surprised if he was feeling bad. He might feel that he's not doing a good job as a father. That would make more sense to me. But I would be surprised if he's like jealous or if he feels like he's less unique, because to me, I think one of Robo's major sort of character beats is that he's lonely, is that he's the only robot that is like him. He's the only one of him, and also he doesn't quite fit into society. He gets him getting like American citizenship was a big deal and things like that, even though he's like technically not alive, blah blah blah, whatever. And so those technically aspect of it has always weighed on him. So I think him helping to create a new robot that is like him is something that he's always wanted, even if he didn't know that he wanted it this specific way. And now, if anything, he probably just wants to do a good job with Alan.
Yeah, and I think that, I think parents always want their children to exceed them. Sure. At least that's how I feel. And I think that we kind of see a reflection of that with Tesla and Atomic Robo when they were dealing with each other, where Tesla wanted things done this way, and Atomic Robo was doing it for a while until he pushed back and became his own person and exceeded Tesla. And now we kind of see that same thing with Alan, right? Where first he was like, yes, I will follow your directions. And now Alan is breaking free and doing his own thing and proving he can be on his own. And he just might succeed Robo in that way. The main Atomic Robo story that we get to is, as I mentioned, a Hercule Poirot story, a murder mystery at sea, where Atomic Robo goes and joins the ultra wealthy snooty club because Richard Branson has never been invited, but Atomic Robo is, and how could he pass up an invitation to thumb his nose at Richard Branson once again? And so he gets on this ultra yacht run by a guy by the name of Geoff Zebos, and everything's AI and backup controlled, and then the other wealthies are all there, and we find out all of their wealth are intertwined with one another, and then the weather modification system goes off, and the ship goes haywire, and somebody is murdered. And now we have to figure out who done it. Did you like that? Did you like the murder mystery? Because I kind of found that story a little flat.
I liked it okay. I think that so I was talking to a friend and I compared it to Glass Onion.
Yeah, a little bit.
I don't know if you guys have seen Glass Onion.
Very much so.
It's not exactly the same idea, but it's a very similar idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what makes Glass Onion work is those flashbacks.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Here, they tell you stuff. They're like, and you can piece it together. They're like, oh, it's like, there's this palladium mine. I was like, I care about this. And it's like, oh, this person is like this. And before they said this. So you can put it together, but because it's all text, because it's all like things that they're telling you, even if you trust that Robo is a good judge of character and can tell more or less if people are like obviously lying to him, and so you can trust whatever Robo believes, right? To be like, this person is lying or they're not. Even I think that's the reason why it feels a little bit less interesting, is because we don't see any of what these the suspects are doing in their general lives. If we had some flashbacks to other times when they've met or whatever, or if there was a way for Robo to see something like that, or if there was like, that's the other thing, is like, there's no part of the deal for this close room mystery is that there's no staff,
right?
Because they're in this like fully automated super yacht. And so, because there's no staff, there's only like 4 suspects. And in a murder mystery like this, you need a little bit more, right?
Yeah, I think so.
You need somebody who will act suspicious when something happens, and then you as an audience member will be like, oh, Robo didn't see that, but I did. So now I suspect this person. And this is like too few. Like, one guy dies and we end up with 4 suspects, and immediately one of them disappears.
Mm-hmm.
So then we kind of end up with only 3 suspects throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
So it needed more. Like, it kind of needed to just be its own thing. And
I think so.
Maybe Alan's adventure could have been a backup, or it could have just been a different volume and expand that.
I feel the exact same way, that these are 2 different stories. It would have been interesting to do the whole story following Atomic Robo, the first 3 issues of the adventures on the super yacht, and then say, where did this weather modification beam come from? Read the next issue, and then you flash back to, meanwhile, while Robo was on the boat, here's Alan doing his thing. I probably would have liked that better, because that's kind of how the book read. In fact, right now on the Legion Clubhouse, we're into the 5 years later, and they're doing an interesting thing where they're telling you a main story arc, and then that kind of ends, and it kind of has a mini credits to it. And then you flip the page, and it's like, oh no, this is going on with a series of 1 or 2 page tiny stories that are continuing on. And meanwhile, here's what everybody else is doing. And that's kind of how this issue plays out, where it's like, I'm not sure which is supposed to be the main story and which is supposed to be the backup story. So I kind of prefer them to be their own thing. And I think they stand alone as their own thing very well. I don't know what you think about that, Matthew.
I honestly, I think a little bit I disagree, because I like, well, first of all, the whole here's a murder mystery thing. I feel like every character worth their salt is going to get stuck in a mystery, a locked room mystery at some point. Everybody from Jeff Winger to, I don't know, Mr. Miracle. But it's fun to see Robo doing his Robo thing. And I think that
Except he doesn't, because you have to read this, he doesn't sound like Foghorn Leghorn unless you specifically make him sound like Foghorn Leghorn.
Well, and that's fine. But you make an interesting point about Alan getting involved and, the son surpassing the dad.
Oh, yeah.
As the rest of the podcast crew are only non-male children or, dogs. And so we may not have that same take on it. It's interesting to look at Alan in this story from that metatextual point of dad's off on an adventure. Normally, no one would go looking for him. But now we have Alan to do something, teenage and impetuous and go looking for his father, who's probably fine. I mean, we've seen Robo deal with EMPs before. We've seen all of these horrible things happen and have him just wander up and go, yeah, I'm fine because I'm Atomic Robo and this is how I talk, you see. I keep coming back to that metaphor of the glass onion, but I do think it's interesting to have him almost in that role within the story framework, if that makes sense, where Alan is like, I have to get involved. I have to do something.
Well, and it may be part of the idea that a locked room mystery, the cozy mystery, is more of a mature type of story, whereas the action scientist is more of a pulp story, which, throwing out, stereotype, tends to skew younger than, H.P. Lovecraft or Doc Savage skews younger than Agatha Christie.
Right.
And so you may be onto something with that parallel there as well. The one thing that I'm curious on, and I want everybody's take, Wegner and Clevenger have never held back when it comes to making fun of historical characters, including Sir Richard Branson, Bill Gates, Stephen Hawking, Thomas Edison, and many, many more. And yet, Jeff Bezos becomes Jeff Zebos in this story. And I'm just wondering if somebody flinched. If somebody was like, man, if we pull on this string, we won't be able to hold back.
I think really the issue is that most of those figures are either long dead, like Thomas Edison, where Thomas Edison is like an outright character in Atomic Robo, as opposed to, say, Sir Richard Branson or Stephen Hawking, who are just kind of, they're just kind of jokes. They're not ongoing characters like Tesla or Edison. And in this, Jim Zebos or whatever actually does something. He's a character, and there's like stuff that goes on with that character, right? And so to have that person be that, like, I don't think that they were like, oh man, we should make it Bezos, and then like somebody else was like, guys, you can't do that. I think it's more like, it's even if you're like attacking somebody who is like a billionaire and either A, doesn't care, or B, possibly deserves it. I think from a creative standpoint, it's like, well, what if we want to do something with this character later?
Yeah.
What if we want to divorce that character from this idea and have him do something else? Like, this needs to be its own character, and we can make a reference to who it's supposed to be, so that you have that immediate buy-in of like, oh yeah, I know who that is. Yeah,
but I just feel like they've done it with real figures before, both alive and dead, that this time it just felt like, no, we're not even going there. And, I probably wouldn't want to poke that bear either, unless I was to say, hey, everybody, we have these Amazon affiliate links that you can take some money right out of Jeff Bezos's pocket when you go and buy Biker Mice from Mars #6, or Minor Threats, The Last Devil Left Alive #2, or even Final Boss #1. Using that link in the show notes takes money out of Jeff Bezos's pocket and puts it into ours. I don't have a problem with that, right?
Well, yeah.
But here it almost feels like they're like, oh, we've got a bald guy. He's super rich. He has a super massive yacht. He's all in on AI. He's super rich, and he's probably not well liked. let's call him Jeff Zebos instead of Jeff Bezos. Everyone's going to know we're talking about Bezos. Yeah, but you got this Richard Branson guy that you totally make fun of and call him out by name, and you don't have a problem with that. I don't know. I don't know. It just felt weird for that.
You're right. It does feel weird. And really what it tells me is that this should have been the other way around the whole time, right? There should have always been analogs rather than the actual historical people.
Yeah.
But so much of that early, juice of Atomic Robo is the feud between Tesla and Edison. So really, they've been hurtling towards this weird moment of dissonance for the entire time. And there's probably been others that maybe we just don't remember or didn't quite catch. But this one is very obvious, right? So I can see that. I like, it doesn't bother me because from a writer's perspective, I'm like, I know exactly why they didn't do that. But also from a writer's perspective, well, you sure set yourself up to do that or to not do that for, 30 volumes
years,
or however many. Yeah.
Any other final thoughts about Atomic Robo and the Peril of Prometheus, Matthew?
I feel like there should have been more perils. Also, maybe it's just me. I used to hear Elson God talking with the German accent. For some reason, now he sounds like Musk, and I don't know if that's just the universe impinging upon my reading experience, or if it's just hey, he's got a new body, he's probably got a new voice.
I always thought he sounded more like one of the Skarsgårds, the elder Skarsgård.
I used to hear Werner Klemperer, who was the Colonel Klink, on Hogan's Heroes.
Yeah,
but I can definitely see that the Scots, and hopefully it's the one that plays the evil Satan clown.
No, the elder Skarsgård, the one from
like Thor,
from like Good Will Hunting.
If he wasn't that one, I don't remember. He's the main underground person in.
He's in Andor.
And also Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. He's the main.
Yeah, I think if I'm thinking of the right Skarsgård, he was the one who asked Robin Williams to take care of Matt Damon.
Maybe so. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. So, final thoughts, Rodrigo, on Atomic Robo and the Perils of Prometheus.
I guess, in general, I agree that the mystery felt a little flat and maybe just a little fast. I actually would have liked to have the whole thing be the mystery, save Alan's adventure for something else, and to really get into who these millionaires are, what they're doing, because that's what makes these mysteries fun, is like sort of unearthing the suspects, right? So it was still good. It was still fun. I enjoyed it. Of course, but I would have liked to see that.
Yeah. Anytime I get to read Atomic Robo is fun times for me. I've been a big fan of this series since day one. And while I enjoyed this wasn't my favorite story overall, but it's still Atomic Robo. It's still the action scientist. It's still bad guys firing death weapons and big fights and big booms and all that stuff. And so you can read it for free. You can't pass up free. atomic-robo.com. So I'm going to say, go give this a read. Matthew, give it a read or skip or what?
Definitely give it a read. And, even if you can read it for free, it's also maybe worth picking up the books.
I mean, they finished the Kickstarter already on Atomic Robo and the Peril of Prometheus, so you can't get that hard copy right now. But look out for their next Kickstarter. They always run Kickstarters after they're done with their story so that you can get it in hardcover. Oftentimes, they also include all of the other stories that you can get in either paperback or hardcover. You can also get them in PDF versions as well. I always support these guys anytime they run a Kickstarter campaign because I just love the hardcovers and you can get your name written in there and all that stuff. So go check those out as well. I think that's where we're going to wrap it up for this issue. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Rodrigo. And thank you to all of our patrons. If you would like to be a patron, if you found value in this show, we'd love for you to join us over at patreon.com/major spoilers. Next week on the show, where are we at? Oh, we're going to go and look at another pulp hero, the Red Panda, Why? Because we know that you love comics, and we do too, and we will talk with you soon.
If I had the X-ray vision of a Superman, I could save a few bucks and stand around and read through the covers of the comics on the stand. But although every other page would be backwards, I suppose I could still read the evens and the odds. Well, I don't know. Guess I haven't thought this all the way through. Plus, as soon as the comic book store guy knew, they kicked my butt out on the corner. What a major spoiler! What a major spoiler! Think about a better way. If I was hulking green or gray, I could just bust through that brick wall, take their comic books away. But then the little meat would deal with all the tanks and bombs and guns. Have you ever tried to read a series with all that going on? Guess I need to rethink this plan. How would I back and board my comics with such huge hands? Guess I already told ya. What a major spoiler. What a major spoiler. Yeah, yeah, yeah. What a major spoiler. What a major spoiler. If I'm stark raving rich like a man of iron, I might not be surprised to find that I might actually have the heart cold to follow an entire storyline. But would I really even need to read up on all those escapades? I mean, who needs such distractions when your sister's such a babe? But the downside is such a beast. Being shot up in a fun, be in the Middle East with a King Santo and soldier. What a major spoiler! What a major spoiler! Yeah, yeah, yeah! What a major spoiler! Whoa, 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 whoa! What a major spoiler!
This podcast is copyright 2025 by Major Spoilers Entertainment, LLC.